Alright, everybody who's been asking about Farrar's frigged up shift cable. This here is the cable. This is the end of it. And see, there's the inner cable going into the transmission to move the gizmo that picks his gears. And this is pulled out of this end fitting here. You see all the wire reinforcements. This cable is ridiculously stiff. I was going to try to pull the transmission out of the car. You see, I've got the transmission on the transmission jack. I've got it loose from the engine. The entire underside of the car has been disassembled. You got to pull the entire underside of the car apart to try to get the transmission out. But this cable has no flex to get the transmission out with the engine still in the car. The only way I can figure that you get this cable out still attached to the transmission is to pull the engine and the transmission out as a unit and let this cable come behind, because it's about as stiff as hard metal tubing, really. So what I'm going to do, I've got a little bit of room to wiggle here. Obviously, see some of these wires, these wire reinforcements have gotten all frigged up. That's why I can't even push the cable back into this end fitting. So I'll cut off or bend back, whatever I can do to get this cable back into this end fitting. And then I got to figure out some way to reinforce it from the side here. I have to get a split sleeve of some sort that I can then hopefully get a tight enough clamp on this end fitting and on the cable sheath so it won't pull out of this end fitting. So that's what it's doing, is it's just pulling backwards out of the end fitting rather than moving the shift selector inside the transmission, and that's why he can't put it in gear. If you hold the cable against the transmission with one hand and then reach inside the frame and move the bell crank with the other, you can get it in and out of gear. It's only when you let this cable travel freely that it pulls out. And by the way, if anybody's ever going to drop one of these automatic transmissions, you have to disassemble the entire vehicle. You have to take the entire, you got to take the passenger side parking brake cable off, because it's all looped up and around all the accoutrement. I mean, you have to basically tear the entire vehicle apart. It is a colossal pain in the ass. I don't know what John DeLorean was thinking. And he's supposed to be this great automotive engineer. I'm starting to have my doubts. But that's what you do. You tear the whole vehicle apart. There's Farrar's mufflers. Everybody's asking about Farrar's mufflers. There's one of them. You tear the whole vehicle apart, and then you can start to try to get access to that cable, which Dave Swingle told me you don't want to try to disconnect that thing from inside the transmission. He said there's quite a few things that can go wrong, and you've had a bad day. So if Dave says not to fuck with it, I ain't fucking with it. As big of a pain in the ass as it's going to be to work in this little hidey hole here, I'm going to do what I can. And there have been a couple of people who said, I've never heard of that cable getting frigged up. Well, here you go. It does get frigged up. That's what it looks like when it's frigged up. Let me move the light here. I put the trouble light over here so you can be sure to get enough light to see. I'm trying to find it in this little camera here. So there's Farrar's frigged up shift cable. Watch this space. We'll see if we can't get it fixed.